Connecting. All right, everybody, we are live. We're here with Andros Sturgeon. Today is October 9th, 2017. This is our first episode of our vodcast, which is video on demand cast, which is an equivalent of a podcast, only 10 times better.
And you get to see our Greek godlike bodies.
Yes.
A rare treat indeed.
Part of them, anyway.
Our floating heads. So today we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to show you a couple of tricks that Justin and I like to use to help with your marketing capabilities. Today, the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to use Instagram in a way that will allow you to get more followers almost instantly. And everybody wants more followers on Instagram, right?
That is absolutely correct. Instagram, for those of you that don't know, I want to share just a couple quick background points on Instagram before we dive in with the tips on it. Because some of you don't know this if you're on Facebook only, and the demographic on Instagram tends to skew a little bit younger. We're looking more like 18 to 35, skews slightly higher with females than males, but it's still pretty even overall. But Instagram, one of the key differences between Instagram and Facebook is that Instagram is a mobile-first platform. So if you are posting on Instagram, you are posting from either your cell phone or from your tablet device. You cannot post from a desktop device unless you're kind of hacking the system and using some sort of third-party software. So that's one of the key differences. The other quick difference I just want to point out before we jump into the tips is that if you're posting a link, so if I'm gonna post an article or I'm gonna post a piece of content and then I want to link out to an event page or a website or something like that, the links are not live on Instagram like they are on Facebook. So on Facebook, you could see a link, you can click the link. On Instagram, the link will be there, it'll be the text of the link, but it won't be a live clickable link. So keep that in mind whenever you're linking out on Instagram. So it's a little bit different of a platform there. So is that a good backdrop there, Andros, to kind of give some?
That's a good preamble to what we are going to talk now about, and that is, how do you get followers? Everybody wants to know how to get followers. Now, just as a note with this particular method, there are two ways to get followers. Okay, two mentalities behind this. The first mentality is that you get as many followers as possible, regardless of interest. It's just simply follower cramming. The other way is you develop an actual following with the content that you're producing. Now,
I would just add to that, like another way of looking at that is like width versus depth, right? That makes sense, because if we're going for like the most possible, because I like the optics of having 10,000 followers, but I don't care if they like what I'm doing, that's all about width. If I want an audience, maybe it's only 1,000 people, but they actually are commenting, liking, sharing, and they're actually engaging with me, that's about the depth of the audience. So I think that's a good distinction to look at is, am I going for width or am I going for depth? And I think on social media marketing, depth is always going to beat width in the long run.
Yeah, that's a great point. And not that you can't develop depth from your width. Some people like it that wide. Some people like it that deep. It really depends on how you. What are you laughing at, man?
I have no idea. I don't even know. I don't even know where that laughter came from. Obviously, it was nothing to do with anything that you're thinking of.
I'm just talking about social media. That's all I know.
I have a very PG brain. Just remember.
I guess, yeah. Somebody took a page out of my script because I'm not even sure what you're talking about. Anyway. So what I'm going to show you is a way to develop a following. And once you get a pretty decent following, like let's say you have several thousand people using this method, then what you can do is you can start actually then producing content. And out of that section, some people will start to actually look at it, especially if it's good content. A lot of people who are following you will actually end up enjoying what you're doing. So this is not the organic way, but this is the fastest way. So I'm going to show you on my phone here exactly what I'm talking about.
State-of-the-art technology here. Andros is going to share his cell phone screen. Very, very rare. Very, very rare to see this kind of thing, right, Andros?
I am very protective when it comes to my cell phone screen. So anyway, as you can see, there's Instagram. I have a little notification saying that something's happening there, so I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, what it's going to do right here is it's going to take me to all the people who are just following me. And if you notice, this person started following me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that person back. This person
Pennywise, Pennywise started following you too, it looks like.
It does look like that, indeed. So if you notice, there's a lot of people that have started following me, and I'm immediately following them back. I'm not really. I don't care what their content is. I don't know really anything about it. But if you notice, I've already got a ton of people who started following me
Yeah.
on this platform here. So
I
okay.
would just add that's kind of a similar strategy to Twitter too, because if somebody follows you and you follow them back, the likelihood that they're going to remain as a follower increases. So if you're looking at building your following, and again, we're not necessarily going for depth, but I mean it's possible. I mean, if we actually get a little bit deeper, we'll see who's commenting, and sharing later on. But by doing that, you're putting yourself in the best position to succeed because you are following them back, and they're going to be more likely to stick around.
Absolutely, absolutely right. And so, as you can see, I've got 521 followers. I actually just created this account for this particular client. He has an app called MobiTrader, which is a Bitcoin trading app. I recommend everyone download it and start using it. It's a great product. But they didn't have any Instagram account, so I went ahead and I started this. And if you notice, just in the last week and a half, I went from 0 to 521 followers. I'm following 1,031. I only have 19 posts. And a lot of these posts have to do with Bitcoin of some sort or another. And the really great thing about Instagram that they're offering now is this little button right up here. If you press on this, which is the thing that looked like a little bars of something, let me just point to that and I'll show you what I mean. So it's this area right here. If you look at that. So if you hit this thing right there, what that's going to do is it's going to give you some analytics on, meaning some information about what people are looking at. And
And
this is
we all love analytics, don't we?
I love that word. It makes me sound
Yeah,
important.
it's
So what we
exciting.
have here is we can see that 76% of my audience is men, 24% women, ages 25 to 34, and we can also see where they're coming from. We can also see my posts, which posts are performing the best, right? So whatever these posts are that are performing the best, I want to do more of those, right? So in a way, my audience is being dictated for me. Like I'm able to see like what's being posted up there. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to search. I'm going to search for a type
Can I
of.
add one more thing there? Because
Sure.
you have a bunch of videos that you're posting in there. One more thing, one more caveat to Instagram is that videos are capped at 1 minute in length. So any video that you upload, no matter how long the video is, when you actually upload it to the Instagram account, it's capped at 1 minute.
So
So
make
you
sure
are
that, yeah, that's right. If you're creating content, then make sure that it's no more than 1 minute long. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some people, right? So I'm going to go here and it gives me discover people. It gives me some suggestions of people who to follow. But I'm going to do something else instead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a little bit of a search for some people, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this button right here. You can't see it. It's underneath that button right there. But this is to search followers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for people who are possibly interested in the type of thing that I'm talking about. So Bitcoin would be, let's look up money, right? And the next thing that I'm going to do is it's telling me that there's no MONEY. It says no users found. But I'm going to search for, I'm doing this all jacked up, man.
you can search by hashtag too.
There we go. Hold on. My phone just went out. Okay, there it is. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for, if you notice, I have this hashtag follow for follow, right? So there's a big contingent of people out there that will actually follow you just for following them. And so all of these photos that you see, they're tagged with this. So what I'm going to do, since most of my demographic is men between the ages of, what was it, like 25 to 35?
Yep.
And what do men like usually? Well, they like girls. So I'm going to look at this girl right here, or whatever she's posting, and I'm looking at, I'm going to find like her, and I'm going to click on her profile, and she's got 528 followers and 2,000 people that she's following. And what I'm going to actually start looking for is I'm going to look for someone who has the same number of followers and the same number of following, right? This person is kind of close. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to her followers, people who are following her. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start following them, right? So I'm going to be indiscriminate. I'm just simply following all of these people that are following her. And the reason why I'm doing it that way is because she has a certain amount of people that are following her, and she has almost an even number of followers and people she's following. So she's pruning the people who are not following her. And if you notice, as I'm clicking follow, that little icon is lighting up at the bottom telling me that that person is following me back. So right away, I'm already getting followers just by using this method, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is keep in mind also that you can't get too many more followers. I think it's like 3 times the amount of followers per
request.
Yeah, so if you're following, if you have 500 followers, you can follow, I think it's like 1,500. So it's 3 times.
Yeah, there's a ratio involved there. They have, and the same thing on how many, usually if it's like Twitter, you can only send so many requests at a time too, depending on how many followers you have also.
Right. So you got to be careful because, you know, obviously Facebook is wise to this. So you want to be kind of careful about it, not go crazy with this. You want to do this probably once a day and no more.
Yeah. The other thing I would add here is when you're building an audience like this, like especially when you're getting started, I think it's more important to do this when you're getting started, because sometimes if your account only has like 100 or less followers or 200 or less or even 500, people won't respect it because, you know, they're looking at your account, they're like, oh, this guy's only got 500 followers. He's not a serious Instagram user. So in the beginning, I think it is smart to build out the width of your audience and get it up to a couple thousand, so that, and I know that's what you're doing right now, because at that point, then you can start really trimming the fat too. At that point, you can start trimming it down to get more of the people that are actually engaging, because eventually, sometimes these algorithms will look at the percentage of engagement versus the percentage of followers too. So that kind of stuff does play into it. But again, it's always like, what are the optics in the beginning? The optics have to be there for me to actually engage with some people that I want to have follow me back. So this is a great technique to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's well said. So the next thing I'm going to do, okay, so if you notice, you go down this, check to see how many people you have. Right now, I have 524 followers. That number's gone up, and I've got almost double the amount of people I'm following. I'm going to stop right there, just because I'm going to give everyone here 24 hours to follow me back. Now, the next thing, this is a 2-part sort of thing that you do. The next part that you do is you go over here to this particular app I found called Unfollowers. It's a cool little app. It's absolutely free. And what it's doing right now is it's connected to my Instagram account, and it's searching for all the people who are not following me back, okay? So there it is. It's lining up. Now, it's a very ad-heavy sort of app, so you're going to be bombarded with a lot of ads, but it's pretty tolerable when you notice what you're getting. So if you notice here, unfollow from the right here. Let me just get this. So we've got this little area right here, unfollow from the top 20. This is the people I just added. And these are the people I added some time back. going from the oldest last, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this, and I'm just going to unfollow from the bottom 20. Yes, I want to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and unfollow those people. So it starts pruning it out, right? The people who are not following me back, I don't want anything to do with them. So there you go. And once that's done, what you're going to do is you're going to be shown an ad after this. That's why this app is free. This is their business model, and there's the ad, and you can just go hit back, and you're back to this, and you can do that again. You can also hit this button, confirm reload, and it reloads the entire feed, just in case some other people have joined or whatever. So anyway, as you can see, that app is very, very handy. So I'm going to go back over here to Instagram, and I'm going to go and take a look. Just make sure that no one else has followed me. Now, the next thing that you want to do as you grow your numbers, and this is one of the more important parts about this, is that you've got to start adding content. Because, again, as Justin pointed out, part of the algorithm is whether or not people are responding to the content that you're making, and you're not spamming people. And just as an experiment, what I did earlier in the day was I posted this thing right here. It says follow for follow back. And I noticed actually that the engagement was very low. I had 9 other people actually like this. And I even put with these particular hashtags, follow for follow me back, et cetera, which I know Instagram is going to find a little bit spammy. So I don't think that they actually put this picture in too many people's feeds. But if I do something creative, like I hit this, and I'm going to look up something like a picture on, this is something I just posted. So I'm going to go to Google Images, and I'm going to look for something that's about, since I have a Bitcoin app, I'm going to look up Bitcoin, and then I'm going to look up Bitcoin funny, because everybody likes funny things, especially when it has to do with something that they like, right? So, here's a funny thing right off the bat. I tried Bitcoin, didn't have my face on it. I think that's kind of funny. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it down, and it's going to ask me if I want to share the image, which I'm going to do. And then it's going to give me some choices, and my choice is going to be Instagram. So there we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to next. I'm not going to crop the photo. I think it's fine the way it is. And I don't need to put anything on it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hashtag this. I'm going to hashtag this with things like, let's see. I want to do hashtag money. I want to do, and if you notice things come up here, so there's money, and you can see how many people are actually posting with this particular hashtag. So the hashtags that you use, you want to make sure that you're hashtagging with your product, but you also want to make sure that you're hashtagging with things that people would be interested in. So obviously, this is a Bitcoin reference, so I'm going to put Bitcoin, there it is.
Crypto.
Cryptocurrency, so I'm going to put that there. Oops. So the thing about hashtags, some people don't understand this about the hashtag thing at all. There's cryptocurrency, and then we've got a hashtag. I'm going to put, let's see, this hashtag is going to be another cryptocurrency is called Ethereum. So I'm going to put Ethereum, and if you can notice, it pops up already with like, I've already chosen that. Now what I actually have a document where I've put all of my hashtags, and that way I can just copy them and paste them here. And it'll go to all of, basically everyone who is looking at these particular hashtags. It's going to filter that through. So you suddenly have a much larger audience. That's why hashtags are important, because sometimes people look for things with these particular hashtags. Now watch what happens when I go ahead and I share this, okay? This is going to go to all of the people who I have hashtagged with these particular things, and it's also going to go to all the people who are following me. So now it's going to go through and go to their feeds as well, all 500 of those people. So what you're going to notice here in a few minutes is that the little heart icon, which is right over here, down here below this thing, is you can't really see it, but the heart icon is going to start lighting up, and people are going to start possibly liking that particular picture. So of course, if you look at my particular feed, see there's somebody who just liked my post right there. So, and there's another person. So you see, like, I'm already getting engagement with these particular people. There's another person right there. So already, just in that very short amount of time, I'm getting engagement on that one particular post. And this person liked it, and I'm going to go ahead and follow them, right? And if they follow me back, that's great. They've got, you know, same thing with this person. So what I do is with every person that likes my post, I think this person, I remember that that Pennywise.
Pennywise we already have.
Yeah, Pennywise is following me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the people who even like the post, right? Because if they like it and then I automatically follow them, they're probably going to follow me back. So here's another person that just liked it. I'm going to follow them. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of the method. And then, of course, if I wait 24 hours and these people do not follow me back, then I'm just going to go to my old buddy here on followers, and I'm just going to trim all of those people who haven't followed me back yet. It's not a big deal. No one's going to get angry at you. But at this rate, right, think about this. I've been averaging, if you look at this here, see, back to my statistics, I've been averaging about 250 new users, well, probably more like 400 users a week, 400 new followers a week, right?
It'll probably go up as you have more followers. People are going to be more likely to follow you back too, because people are more likely, they're going to have that social proof.
Right.
So
exactly.
People are more likely to follow back somebody with 1,000 followers than they are somebody with 20 or 80 or something like that.
Right, exactly. And so then when I go to my analytics, and here's where posting different things matters, because again, if you look at the things that people have engaged in the most, it's these different things that have to do with, you know, the more humorous things have been the things that have been engaged with most. So, you know, those are the things I'm going to keep posting with. So once I get to a certain point, you know, after a while, and my followers have gone to the thousands, then I don't have to add as many followers. The more you do it, then the more followers you have, but obviously they're not going to be quality, they're not going to be organic, but this method will allow you to find organic followers by having a much larger base to begin with. So I hope that makes sense, and that is something that if you use this method, you'll be able to gain followers much more quickly. You'll be able to grow your account. You'll be able to, you know, and again, as Justin and I always talk about, it's the rule of 7. So this counts as one of those 7 times that people see you. Do you want to talk a little bit about how Instagram is connected to Facebook and how that works?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, if you don't already know, Facebook owns Instagram. Whoa. And it was a brilliant, brilliant decision by Mark Zuckerberg to buy Instagram back in, like, what was it, like 2012, maybe 2011.
And when he bought it, there was like the board actually, they were mad at him because he paid $4 billion for it, and now that was like a steal.
Yeah, it was somewhere in the, I'm not sure, I'd have to look it up, but it was like between 2 and 4 billion, like you said.
4 billion.
And was it 4? Okay, 4 billion. And now you look at like Microsoft buying LinkedIn for 26 billion. You look at like the different acquisitions. It was a complete steal because Instagram has surpassed Twitter in the number of monthly active users. Instagram is over 500, or actually I think they're like 700 million a month, I believe. I'd have to double check the numbers, but they are above Twitter. They have passed Twitter now, and they are the fastest growing social media network out there right now. So even though Facebook is by and far the largest, Instagram is growing at a faster rate than Facebook at this point. And part of that is Facebook does have 2 billion people 2 billion accounts, which is more than a quarter of the world's population on Facebook, which is insane. And I'm sure some of that is duplicate accounts and things like that. I doubt that truly 25% of the world's population is on Facebook, but maybe. I can't put it past Mark Zuckerberg to pull that off. The guy he's smart. The thing about Zuckerberg is he sees the future well.
Yeah.
Because you see like him buying companies like Oculus Rift. He knows that the world's going to a VR play. You see like at his Facebook conference in January or February this year, all he talked about was augmented reality and the integration as the camera on Facebook is the first rendition of augmented reality. So the guy looks at what's coming, not just what is, and he has a strong grip and willingness also to purchase companies that he sees as future competitors to him. And with Instagram, he hit a home run. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Now, as far as integrations go, there's a lot of link up between Facebook and Instagram. In fact, if you post on Instagram, you can just click a button and it will auto post to your Facebook account. It'll also give you the opportunity to auto post to your Twitter account. So they've made some kind of a partnership there. That's not through ownership, but some kind of partnership. And you can post through what is it? It's Tumblr, I think, right?
Yeah,
you post
pretty far. So anyway, and it also like you also have to look at it from the demographic standpoint because the kids in my household basically say, "Oh, Facebook is for old people." But all they use is Instagram. So you're definitely connecting to a younger audience by doing this. So you got to keep that in mind as well.
I've shared this before, but I mean, every platform starts young, right? I mean, Facebook started with Harvard EDU only email addresses. So you had to be a Harvard student. Then they changed it to only Ivy League colleges. Then only people with an EDU period, they have to be a college student, and then they opened it up to the general public. And it was always a young demographic until people started having kids, and then grandma wanted to get on there and look at their grandkids, right? So the platforms kind of age up organically over time. And so if Instagram stays in the way it looks like it's going to stick around for quite a while, then over the next 5 years, that demographic is going to shift much older pretty quickly over those next 5 years. But right now, it's sticking to like an 18 to 35, and then the youngest demographic is still Snapchat, which is more like 12 to like 25. However, if you guys don't know this, Facebook, after trying to buy Snapchat multiple times and was denied being able to buy them, decided that instead of buying them, they were going to copy all of their features and integrate them into all of their apps. So now the Snapchat filters, the Snapchat stories, all of that has been added to Instagram. So if you're in Instagram, you'll see Instagram stories. If you're in Facebook now, they've even copied them over there. So you have Facebook stories, Instagram stories. You have all those face filters where you can make yourself look like Batman, or you can make yourself look like a dog, or you can make yourself look like a beauty queen. Whatever you want to do, you can do all that, and that's all available on Facebook, the same as Snapchat now. I think the interesting thing that I've read recently, though, is that there is a bit of some resilience in the Snapchat audience. So some of them are sticking to their guns and sticking to Snapchat, but it's almost like Snapchat and Instagram they're like factions. There's not that much crossover, apparently, from what I was reading. There's a lot of people that will only be on Snapchat or they'll only be on Instagram and Facebook. So that's the kind of interesting point that I've been kind of reading a little bit more on.
Yeah. So all of these platforms you need to pay attention to. Absolutely.
Yeah. Keep up on them, and they're all going to eventually age up. So even though right now it's a young demographic, eventually it won't be.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, but if there's any tips or tricks that you want to know about any other platform, please leave them in the comments section below. We'd be happy to answer any of your marketing questions. And,
which direction is the comment section? This way? That way?
I think that's around there somewhere. Just wherever it is. Comments.
One of those directions.
Even if it's you suck, it's okay. Live with it. It'll be the first time today. So So the moving right along, I actually want to cover one other ground. You saw Blade Runner, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I saw
A little
Blade Runner.
early, a little early for me. I haven't seen it yet.
I
That's
won't go into details then.
what's
It.
that?
I won't go into too much details then. It's a very it's very well done, and it's beautifully shot. Great audio, great soundtrack, great sound effects. Like I would highly recommend anyone that's going to see it to go see it in the theater because that it's definitely an experience that you want to have in the movie theater. Um, the only caveats to Blade Runner are that it is a 2 hour and 45 minute movie. So it's probably good to come in there with that mindset that you're going to be in there for roughly 3 hours instead of 2 hours. And then you got to remember that you're dealing with replicants and humans, and replicants aren't like they don't have like a wide array of emotion. So there's a lot of kind of the monotone talking. There's a lot of that. So we don't get into you don't get into a ton of range, and there's a lot of it's pretty heady. So if you like heady movies, and I know you do, Andros,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
you're gonna like Blade Runner. If you prefer like pure action and brainless things, then you're probably not gonna like it. That's just the reality. So that's my.
Can I ask you what is it about us as a culture that we have trouble sitting through a nearly 3 hour movie, yet we'll binge watch a season of something? I guess maybe because we could like get up and go pee in the middle of
Yeah, I
that.
think yeah, you could pause it and go pee. You could be in your underwear. You could just sit there. Like you could just like
Dude,
stretch out.
I
You
go
don't
to
have
the movies in my underwear all the time. I don't know about you, but
you don't
like
have
that.
those cultural norms to deal with. Because when you're in public, you kind of you fall into those cultural norms. And I
Yeah.
know you don't, but most people do.
Well, I am in the Netherlands, and you can get yourself a glass of beer in the movie theater. I'm
That's
not
pretty.
talking like a plastic cup. I'm talking a glass of beer.
You know what they put on French fries in Holland instead of ketchup? Dang it.
I don't know.
Mayonnaise. They should
Really?
freaking drown him in that.
so, so the one thing I also want to cover is you haven't seen the last two episodes of Rick and Morty, but I do want to
Oh,
cover.
I saw the last one, not the. I didn't see. I mean, I did. I saw the second to last one, not the last one.
Yeah, but you only saw part of the ABCs of Beth, which was the second to last.
No, I saw that one.
You
I
saw
saw
the
that.
whole.
I think so. Was that the
That
second to
was,
last? Or
that
maybe
was the second
maybe.
to last. So
Okay, no, you're right. I'm
you're actually
behind.
1.5 behind, which I don't know how you could even live with yourself knowing that there is a Rick and Morty and a half. Maybe it's just like, are you just like trying to savor the last like let it go as long as possible?
It's probably. I mean, it was like a year and a half between season 2 and season 3, so it could be a long haul. So
Yeah.
I don't want to rush it. I mean, I waited until like 2 weeks ago to watch Silicon Valley season 4, and then I binge watched it all in like 2 days.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Maybe you're taking the smarter route. It's like hoarding it for the winter. But so let's talk about the last episode that we both did see, which is Morty's Mind Blowers.
ooh, that was a good one.
Tell me about Morty's Mind Blowers.
I mean, freaking funny. I mean, just clever flashback scenes that were like, uh, I don't know, it's just super creative. I'm trying to remember exactly like how they did it, but it was essentially they borrowed the idea of interdimensional cable. If you're a Rick and Morty fan, you know what interdimensional cable is. If you are not a Rick and Morty fan, go watch it now. Pause the video. Go watch. You don't need to watch this right now. Watch Rick and Morty for like 3 seasons long, and then come back and finish this video after that.
Really
Um,
do yourself a favor.
do yourself a favor. But I mean,
I,
it was hilarious.
yeah.
It was like the most awkward situations, and they got to capture them all and have like they purposely got to capture awkward scenes by doing these mind blowers. So it was awesome.
So just like random scenes of things, and some of those were just like so clever, where you had things that happened that you could see would shape the family just a little bit, like when like just different, like we just busted in the middle of an adventure where like Beth is like tied up and some supervillain has Morty and his sister both like tied up, and the Uber villain says, "Now you must make the hardest choice of your life. Which one?" And she goes, "Summer, give me summer." And just this look on Morty's face, and that's it. That's all you. So it's just
they kill the villain before that actually comes down to that decision too.
right. Exactly, but you already spit it out. So there's just little tiny clips. I think, and I have to say, like, this particular season was so good that they keep upping themselves. I heard Dan Harmon say something really funny. He said that making Rick and Morty is the equivalent of going for a swim and getting attacked by a shark and just start swimming away from the shark, and at the end of it, people are cheering because you just swam across the English Channel. And he's just like, I just wanted to get away from that shark. Because I don't think he knew what a cultural phenomenon he was creating.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about Rick and Morty, too, is that it's like, I love South Park, too, but they're like totally different shows, where South Park is kind of like smart satire and like super sarcastic. And then Rick and Morty is more like just super heady, super like, you have to kind of know a little bit about quantum. You got to know a little bit about you got to know a little bit about things to kind of appreciate it at a higher level.
But even if you don't, there's spark jokes that you can get like in between all that.
It's kind of like I mean, to me, it's almost like a movie like Dumb and Dumber, like, which I think you can appreciate on multiple levels. Like, on the one level, it's stupid, and that's it. And like, if you don't get it at a higher level, then that's fine. But it's like just stupid, dumb jokes, and then it's still kind of funny on that level. And then on the higher level, it's just like all these different like higher level puns and like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like there's a second level to it, and like Rick and Morty is probably even smarter than that. But it's that kind of idea, though, that there's like a higher level to it. That's what I appreciate, shows that can reach an audience on multiple levels. So it can still be funny for an audience that gets it on a certain level, and then if you're more of the intellectual type, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get all the quantum jokes. You're gonna get all the more advanced stuff. You're gonna pick up on the subtle references if you're a pop culture person too, which I am. So all that stuff.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and it's some of the jokes are so obscure that that it's just really like just little things that they put in the background, like even in the opening sequence where Rick and Morty is being chased by Cthulhu while they're holding a baby Cthulhu, and Cthulhu is the giant multi-tentacled beast from H.P. Lovecraft fame. It's like so obscure that you have to like know these references.
Kind of looks like didn't they make on the Pirates of the Caribbean, didn't they make one of the guys look like Cthulhu kind of?
Oh yeah, the Kraken, or what is it? No, yeah,
Davy Jones, I think.
I don't know.
I didn't even see. I saw Pirates 1 and I saw Pirates 4. I didn't see Pirates 2 and 3, but I've been on the ride, and they have the little squid character, which is, to me, it looks like Cthulhu, and I mean, it must be based on Cthulhu, and I think it's Davy Jones.
All I know, when you start talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like just images flashing on a screen with Johnny Depp floating around in there in a pirate outfit. That's all I know.
I appreciated the first one when it came out, and it's just so run down, and Johnny Depp's career is taking a dive, man. And I like Johnny Depp. I think he's got talent, but his career is taking a dive because he just picks the wrong projects right now, where he can't let go of like Jack Sparrow, because that was his key to fame.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think they back up a dump truck full of money to his door, and he's just like, all right, I'll wear this stupid outfit again.
You know what is interesting, though? They did cast him to play John McAfee in a movie about John McAfee going crazy in the jungle. So that I'm looking forward to seeing, because Johnny Depp, if he can play anything really well, he can play a drug-induced psychopath like Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah. I guess it takes one to know one, right?
Right. That's right. No, nothing against Hunter S. Thompson. That guy's brilliant.
Oh my God. One of these days I'll relay my Hunter S. Thompson story when I actually met the man, working as a waiter in Utah. Finally, I want to cover our last bit of media of the week, and that is the movie Mother.
Oh, Mother.
So here are 3 things that I learned watching Mother. Are you ready for them?
I'm ready. Go.
Number 1, Jennifer Lawrence is so beautiful, it is distracting to watch her in anything. Like honestly, no disrespect to women or my wife or anything. I'm just saying, like, this is a woman who just is so gorgeous. Watching her, it is impossible for me to do anything but go, that's Jennifer Lawrence and she's absolutely gorgeous. That's all I can think about is like watching her in that movie. Maybe that was even the point of casting her, but she's just one of these rare Hollywood actresses that you can't take your eyes off of her. She's
Now,
amazing.
I read recently that she's now dating Darren Aronofsky. Did that happen after filming or before filming? That's the
Well,
question.
that's the second thing that I learned watching Mother, and that's it. I don't know where to go with that. Darren Aronofsky,
You learned that Darren Aronofsky was dating Jennifer Lawrence?
and he's twice her age, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, Mother is very much a movie that has multiple levels to it, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like a metaphor within it. It's basically a metaphor. The whole movie is like a metaphor. I did not put together what that metaphor was until I started putting it together at the very end of the movie because they kind of explain it to you at the end, at least to some extent. But then I had to go back and like go online and read articles to really fully understand everything that took place. So
Yeah.
I feel like I almost felt like, wow, I'm not as smart as I like to think I am, you know? But
No.
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, and the metaphor is basically that that there is a reality which is a metaphor for religion and God and the creation of the earth, all happening within this house. And
Can we just say this is going to be a spoiler alert and go? Let's go into spoilers because I really want to talk about spoilers.
yeah, let's spoil it
Okay,
away.
now we're going to spoil. So if you can't stand the fact that we're going to spoil Mother for you, turn off the video. But I know you want to hear it, so stick around. So go ahead, Andros. Now start spoiling
So
away.
so basically, the third thing I learned from Darren Aronofsky's vision is that he is probably the very best person out there to take a nightmare and put it in a celluloid fashion.
God.
Like the in the same way that a nightmare will have a logic to it while you're dreaming, and something that looks, totally innocuous in real life would have terrifying meaning behind it. Darren Aronofsky can make nightmares come to life in a way that no other director can. Like with Requiem for a Dream, which was basically a movie where he took all of his characters and put them in a bus and then lit the bus on fire and pushed the bus over the cliff with no hope.
The way I look at it is he's like, and I talked about metaphor on the level of like, this is a movie that's like, if you read the reviews, it's like an allegory to the Bible in a lot of ways, allegory to Genesis in the Bible. And we'll talk about that in a second. But it's also like he has a way of transmitting metaphors in terms of emotion. So like a lot of these scenes don't even make sense in any sort of way, but they do translate like this emotion of claustrophobia for one. They translate this emotion of like chaos and intensity and like in a way that not many directors, or I'd say almost no directors, are able to communicate the way that Darren Aronofsky does in this in a couple of these scenes, because it's relentless chaos. And if you're a claustrophobic person and you can kind of relate to Jennifer Lawrence in this movie, you could feel like endless like attacks and like it just never ends. It's
Yeah.
relentless. It's relentlessly coming at you with stimulus and stimuli. So it's intense, and he communicates emotions, and which is kind of what I got from the movie when like he was communicating these different emotions really, really well. I didn't pick up on the full biblical undertones, which now makes sense to me. But yeah, man, that guy, yeah, he just knows how to communicate emotion on a level that you don't see very often in movies. Now it is a bit artsy in that respect, so it's not for everyone, but
But basically, what we're talking about is a movie where the house represents the universe, Jennifer Lawrence represents Mother Nature, and Javier Bardem represents the
God,
earth, God,
basically God.
earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens when humans enter the picture? They generally just destroy stuff. And so she's trying to fix up his house, and these people keep coming in one after another and basically destroying her house. I gotta say, there is one scene in that movie that to me is one of the most disturbing things I've seen in a while. And that is where Jennifer Lawrence gets pregnant and has a baby with a mob outside of her door. And her husband wants to show the baby to the crowd. And she has to like not sleep, otherwise he will take the baby, which eventually he does. And this one particular moment where he has the baby, the crowd is cheering, and she tries to get the baby back. And by the time he gets to Javier Bardem, who's holding the baby has already been pushed into the crowd and is being passed around, this fragile baby. And she's like elbowing her way through the crowd, trying to get her baby back. And that I've actually had that nightmare with my own child. And so if that type of thing disturbs you, do not see this movie. But from an art perspective, I think in some ways, I think that Darren Aronofsky is actually out David Lynching David Lynch these days.
Yeah, a little bit. Now, did you pick up on like so basically each of the people that enter the house are representative of the book of Genesis. Like Ed Harris coming in is supposed to be Adam, and then on the first night you see him. He's kind of sick and he's puking, and you see this one scene where Jennifer Lawrence opens the door and he's over the toilet, and apparently like that's supposed to be Javier Bardem, or God. You see like his rib is exposed, so he takes the rib and supposedly makes Eve from the rib, and then she comes the next day. So the second character, who's Michelle Pfeiffer, shows up the next day, and that's supposed to be Eve. So it's pretty deep. I read articles that had to help me decipher all this stuff, and then I thought about it some more, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That this is actually like keeping to the book of Genesis on that level too. Even though you could tell that Darren Aronofsky is most likely not a religious guy at all. At least that's my. Yeah.
Especially if you look at The Fountain and Noah, which I believe actually those two movies you could play in a loop as they're actually interconnected. I think that those two movies actually have they're working on the same timeline, if you will, and one of the most magnificent pieces of cinema ever in my book was in The Fountain, where Jack, what's his name?
Hugh Jackman.
Thank you.
Hugh Jackman.
He has the best spaceship in the history of cinema, which is just
pretty awesome.
That when I really think about it, it's like, of course, that's how a spaceship should look, which is this giant floating ball. And it's all about trying to find the flower of life, essentially, and the eternal fountain of youth, and how it can never quite be achieved. And in Noah, the immortality and the fountain of youth and the flowers that show up in the fountain also show up in Noah. And you could actually run these movies back to back, and they would form a complete circuit in my mind. And
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a real take on religion as well. Obviously, both of these movies, and you could tell he's a raging atheist, which made Noah all the more fun in my mind.
And if you haven't seen Noah, one of the things that created the supreme controversy with Noah, because a lot of the Bible Belt went to go see this movie with like, oh right, a Noah's Ark movie, and not with the expectation that Darren Aronofsky was the man behind the camera. So one of the things you see in like the opening scene is that they go back in time and they talk about how there were these mythological creatures back in the day that were rock giants. And so there's these living rock giants that were back in the was this like, I guess this is BC, right? Because this is Noah's Ark. So so back in BC times there was rock giants roamed the earth, and so right away you're getting into this thing that people were like, no, that's not how it was. That's not how it was. But if we go back and we think about like the Bible, I mean, we do have talking snakes, and we do have things that are not any more or less, far-fetched as far as like what could and couldn't reside in general science, right? So I don't want to go too deep there, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. They had a huge backlash on those rock giants.
Right, of course, because in the Bible there is nothing like rock giants at all in any of those stories.
Apparently, there is one line in there that he kind of took artistic liberty with. That I think there's something about like giants roamed the earth or something, and he made them into rock giants.
Well, whatever, artistic license. Overall, though, I definitely the Fountain and Noah side by side. Mother, I was simultaneously repulsed and intrigued. I felt myself almost wanting to walk out at certain points, and now I find myself wanting to go back and see it again. So, well done, sir. Well done. And you get to date Jennifer Lawrence too. So, bravo.
Yeah, way to go, Darren. Good job.
So, any pieces of media that you out there in TV land think that we should see? Anything that we should? We'd love to hear what you're watching, what you're looking at right now, and any marketing tips for us. We'd love to hear more of those. Anything you want to add before we close up this particular episode of our show?
Not particularly. Nothing is popping up in the brain of mine. I guess I'm looking forward now. We have a couple Marvel movies, and Star Wars tickets go on sale this evening in America. Maybe not in the Netherlands, but in America, Star Wars tickets go on sale tonight. So I'm going to buy mine. I'm going to be on my laptop, ready to buy tickets tonight for The Last Jedi, and the new trailer debuts tonight simultaneously with Monday Night Football.
Oh, shoot! I had no idea.
Yep, they haven't announced that.
Thor is going to come out, and I think when Thor does come out, I will have a review from my 3-year-old.
Good. Yeah, you're taking Khalil to see it in the theater?
I am going to take him to the theater, and I showed him some previews. He's really into the idea of seeing the Hulk. So, I'm a responsible father. I have to
it's gonna be good. The early reviews of Thor came out yesterday, but they're all from people that saw a screening, and they're all on Twitter, and they're not professional critics, and they're probably pretty skewed towards positive. But a lot of positive feedback from the early Twitter reviewers, and they might be people that work for the studio for all I know. But people were saying it's got the best mix of humor and action since any of the Guardians movies. It's a lot lighter than the other Thor movies, and by far it's the best Thor movie of the three. So
okay, well
that's good. That's a
review.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm hoping that they're not pure studio puppets. I don't want them. I'm hoping they're not studio puppets, and that these are truly. It's going to translate to a really good movie, and I'm excited. Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
We'll find out. We will find out. This could be the Thor to rule them all. All right. Well, until next week. Thank you everybody for watching and tuning in, and until next time.
Until next time, stay classy.
From the Netherlands, Andros Sturgeon.
And from San Diego, Camarillo.
San Camarillo.
Bye for now, people.